Are you paying too much in taxes? Elevated Tax and Accounting is a firm that specializes in tax planning and strategy to minimize your tax bill. Elevated Tax consult with you on tax strategy throughout the year, so no more waiting until the end of the year and hoping for the best. As a business owner, you know your sole focus should be spent working on your business, not in it. Outsourcing gives you the time to concentrate on the core reasons you started your company, to create and innovate a top-tier product and generate profits. Elevated Tax and Accounting, elevating you and your business with a modern professional touch. Cash One Pawn has the most extensive inventory of any pawn shop in western Montana. Whether you're in the market for firearms, power tools, bows, video game consoles, or sunglasses, Cash One Pawn has the best deals around. And now Cash One Pawn gives you the ability to shop online from anywhere. Make CashOnePawn.com part of your shopping habits. Also make sure to download the Cash One Pawn app. Cash One Pawn, Missoula's premier pawn shop, located on Roller Coaster Road on the way to the Y. Well, our NFL and CFL draft and lead-up coverage continues, and we're joined now by a former Griz defensive end who's got multiple opportunities upcoming his way, starting with a trip across the country to Buffalo, New York. Hayden Harris, our guest here on Nuanez Now. Hayden, thanks for being here, man. How you doing?
Doing good. I'm just excited for the next steps and getting out there to Buffalo and competing. So yeah, but I've been good. Just been training and just grateful for the opportunity to go compete. So
We'll get into the training and all that because I do think it's an interesting process, just the different ways that guys go about it, and certainly takes a ton of dedication. But before that, I just got to ask you about your respective draft days. You were a big-time prospect in the CFL draft, but also a hopeful in the NFL draft. You get an undrafted free agent contract with the Buffalo Bills right after the NFL draft. Then a couple days later, get drafted in the CFL. So just take us through it. Just start with the NFL. What were you doing that Saturday, and what was it like when you got the call knowing you're going to get a chance to go to the Buffalo Bills?
yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool. I was just sitting with my parents, watching the draft on TV. Obviously, I wasn't really expecting necessarily to get drafted from my agent, um, according to him. So I was just kind of, just waiting. He had put in some calls for me for undrafted free agent opportunities, and yeah, he's been great. He's been a great resource for me, and he really helped me. But I was pretty much just waiting for an opportunity, and that came about with the Buffalo Bills before the draft had even ended. So um, hopped on that, and it was a no-brainer from there.
And then a couple days later, you get to watch the CFL draft. I know there's a lot of timing elements in all of this that we'll get into, but even still, it must be cool for you to just see your name flash across the screen, number 11 overall pick. I was at the press box watching with Keelan White and his family, and so I got to see some of your former teammates react, and they were super happy for you as well. So just take us through that. Just what was it like having your name actually called during a draft?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. The CFL is a great opportunity as well, and um, you know, the NFL is a great opportunity for me as well. But that's my number one priority right now. But in terms of seeing my name called, it was pretty cool. Seeing Keelan get drafted, and just having that experience with my parents, getting the phone call, and just experiencing that overall was pretty cool. And I'm just grateful. So.
You get a boost up with having Canadian citizenship, right? So tell people that story. Your mom, she's from Canada, is that right?
Yeah, she's originally from Regina,
Okay.
Saskatchewan,
Yeah, yeah.
which is home to the Rough Riders where Alec Governor and Braxton play. Um, so just having the opportunity to have opportunities in both leagues was pretty special. And um, I'm grateful for both leagues for taking a chance on me and giving me an opportunity.
Hayden Harris joining us here on Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio, as well as SWX Montana Television, the ESPN MT app, and our ESPN MT YouTube channel. Buffalo, have you ever been that far east? Hayden's coming to us from Seattle, by the way. That's why I said he's got a cross-country trip on the horizon. Leaves tomorrow as we record this on a Tuesday. Have you ever been to Buffalo? You ever been back east?
I've been there a couple times. I actually trained out east. I trained
Oh,
in
wow. Okay.
Annapolis, which is, by the Naval Academy. That's where I trained. So I've been out east. My aunt and then two of my siblings live in New York City, so family's not too far away in terms of that. Um, but in terms of being long term on the East Coast, I've never really been there for an extended period of time beyond um, being there for training.
Well, Colt Anderson, a former Griz who's now coaching the NFL, he played for the Bills for a long time. He's a good friend of mine, and he says that Buffalo, New York is very much like Butte, Montana, where people love sports. It's cold, it may be a smaller town compared to a lot of the other NFL cities, but people love their football. I know that's something you certainly got used to these last couple of years playing at the University of Montana. So that probably excites you. What else excites you about this opportunity with the Bills?
Yeah, just learning every day from some of the veterans that are there. They have Joey Bosa and Greg Rousseau, two guys who have been staples in the league for a long time, and I'm just excited to learn. But Buffalo is, what I've heard is a great place, sports town. They love the Bills, and I'm just excited to meet the fan base and get the opportunity.
Tell us a little bit about your last couple months then. Grizz season gets done, and then you're right into the training element. You said you were training in Annapolis. Tell us about the facility you were at and just how that opportunity came about.
Yeah, so actually, my trainer is my god brother. His name's Devin Allen. He's
Oh,
a
okay.
hurdler and played at Oregon back in the early 2010s, maybe mid 2010s. But he was also a great resource. He just got done with the Eagles for 2 years. So having him as a resource was very nice. And I still look to him for guidance whenever I have questions. But in terms of following the season, I kind of headed back home pretty quickly to try to figure out what my plan was. I was invited to an All-Star game in Texas, the CGS. Brandon Casey was there as well. Cale Edwards was there as well. So I had a former teammate and Brandon there with me, and I got to compete against some other draft prospects that were, looking for an opportunity as well. And I think that helped me get some eyes on me as well. So anyone who's looking to take their game to the next level in terms of the NFL or CFL, it's a great opportunity. And I, had the ability and opportunity to go compete down there. And then following that, it was pretty much straight to the Baltimore area to go train for the next 12 weeks. So training was good. And in terms of the facility, we just at the Naval Academy with just the indoor field and the weight room there. So, that was a good opportunity as well, just to go out east and train and get ready for my pro day.
It must be such an interesting deal to train for football for 5, 6 years and then train for basically a track workout that's going to translate into football. So, what did you notice there was the biggest difference? What was challenging maybe about your training leading up to the pro day?
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. I mean, it's completely different. I know Junior Bergen kind of said the same thing in terms of just going from football specific drills to, preparing for ultimately a track meet. And, I did track growing up. So I had been exposed to a little bit of the stuff I had been doing there. But in terms of, doing track, almost like track workouts, track field stretching, all of that stuff was very in depth and is something that I necessarily hadn't been exposed to in a really long time. So that was definitely different. And me being a bigger guy, it was definitely challenging. Not just with the running, the amount of running and the movement stuff, but also the risk of injury is also way higher when you're running longer distances than you would on a football field. So that was completely different and definitely a different experience.
How about just if you're on your way to or from a Griz game, there's literally no better place to go than the Press Box Sports Bar and Grill. It is the Griz fan headquarters in the heart of Griz country. They have a happy hour every single day between 4 and 6 p.m. with $3 drafts. They also have a full bar with great beer and wine selection, excellent food. Press Box Burger, the Smash Burger, delicious. They also have the best chili in the state of Montana. It's definitely the best place to pregame before Griz games. Swing into the heart of Griz country at the Griz fan headquarters, the Press Box Sports Bar and Grill, right next to the University of Montana campus.
Being in this industry since I was in college, one of the things I think we take the most pride in is Aspen Sound's been such a presence in Missoula for almost 40 years. The cool parts about our job is people always ask me, what do you do for a living? I sell fun, whether it's as simple as window tint all the way up to integrating a backup camera into a factory screen. I'm pretty excited about the options we can present.
How about just the diet and the lifestyle? Keelan was telling me that He basically ate the same two meals over and over and over again on repeat for 12 weeks. And, I mean, he's smaller than you, so he's trying to put on a little bit of weight, but you're probably trying to manage yours. So how did that whole part go?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of in the same boat. I mean, I was pretty much restricted um, to only certain foods. A lot of white rice was definitely a lot of that was bought, as well as just ground beef and leaner meats like chicken and turkey. Um, but in terms of my diet, I mean, I've always had a pretty decent diet, but this was a whole nother level for me. So preparing for that, it exposed me to a lot, and I learned a lot in the process, and I think it was beneficial.
Hayden Harris joining us here on Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. When it comes to the things that maybe then provided the opportunity, you had a great pro day. You went to an all-star game and you had a standout day there, but you also had a great senior season. So how do you sort of weigh the factors that maybe got you the opportunity? What do you think helped the most?
That's a good question. I was always, told as a player, looking for the opportunity at the next level was your film is your resume. So I think that was definitely first priority for me was, you know, you already do this as a player, you play your hardest and, whatever comes after that comes after that. But fortunately, I had a pretty good season. It's not necessarily where we wanted to be in terms of as a team. We wanted to have more success on the field, but on an individual basis, I just played my hardest, and my film was ultimately my resume. But having that exposure also against other, good athletes that are looking, to get that opportunity at the next level was pretty important. So I would say a combination of all three: your pro day, um, your film, and then as well as getting eyes on you at an all-star game was pretty important. But if I had to pick one, I'd ultimately say, your film is your resume is the most important thing.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, when it comes to the way you and your agent were sort of marketing yourselves to NFL teams, you played in a couple different schemes in college, so that's probably appealing to NFL teams, knowing that you have been there. Also, the what Montana runs right now is a little bit unorthodox compared to maybe what you play in the NFL. So, what did you tell teams? How do you brand yourself? You saying I'm a strong end? What sort of feedback did you give them in terms of what you think maybe you project to at the next level?
Yeah, kind of like you said, I'm very versatile when it comes to what techniques I play. Montana helped me with that, as well as getting the development when I was at UCLA was very beneficial for me as well, because I had never really played defense prior, other than 1 year in high school. I was a quarterback for pretty much 9, 10 years, so I think that was another marketing way, to get myself out there was, I've played all these positions. I'm very versatile, whether it be, playing D line, which is what I do, but seeing the game through the eyes of a quarterback definitely, I think, was something that had me stand out. Um, and so that's also helped me on the field as well. And just understanding the game as a whole, that definitely helps.
I had forgotten that about you, that you'd played quarterback mostly before college. So that makes sense because it seems like you pick stuff up pretty quick. Do you think that quarterback knowledge sort of helps you in terms of learning just defensive scheme and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. From a grand scheme of football, it's different for sure. Playing quarterback is one of the most difficult things you can do in sports. Um, so a lot of props to those guys that play at a high level. There's a lot of criticism when it comes to playing the quarterback position because it is the most important, but it's hard. Um, so that definitely helped me in my transition process as understanding the overall scheme of all defenses, not just playing D line and knowing the front, but knowing the whole entire game, the whole entire field. Um, it definitely helped.
Is a will you marry me in your future? Or maybe you do it all over again. Hi, I'm Brian Toon with Jewelry Design Center, inviting you to come see the largest selection of Will You Marry Me in the state of Montana. The brightest diamonds of every shape and size, unique settings built to last, and skilled jewelers on site offering free sizing and maintenance for life, because that's how long we want to be your jeweler. Jewelry Design Center in Missoula, on Brooks, across from the Montana.
You're driving along on the highway and you've been hit by a semi-truck. Now what do? You call your Montana attorneys, Ryan and Miller. We have the expertise to help guide you along in these specific types of accidents. So these are the 3 steps that you need to follow. Number 1, make sure that the police are called and that there is a report of the accident. Second, make sure that you're getting the medical attention that you need and following up with your doctor. Third, do not talk to an insurance company until you've talked to an attorney. They are not going to help you protect your rights, and you want to make sure that you know all that you're entitled to. Contact an attorney today by clicking the link below.
So I'm sure you're solely concentrated on the NFL right now. You're going across to go to Buffalo. Does the team that drafted you in the CFL, do they like maintain your rights, or how does that logistical process work?
Yeah, they ultimately have my rights if I ever do play in the CFL.
Right.
That kind of happened with Alex Gubner. Calgary had his rights last year,
Right.
and then they forfeited his rights, and the Rough Riders picked him up. And so that's kind of how it works: is you get an NFL opportunity, a CFL team drafts you, they have your rights if you ever choose to go up and play in Canada. So ultimately, if I did play in Canada, the BC Lions would be the team I'd represent.
Well, solely focused on this for now. So you headed across the country to Buffalo. Just give us the layout. Are you going to OTAs right away, or are you going to a mini camp? What's the first thing you have on your schedule?
Yeah, the rookie mini camp is on Friday.
Nice.
That's when it starts. So it's the second weekend. I know a lot of teams had it on this past weekend. I think it's divided up evenly. But yeah, the first on the agenda is this rookie mini camp, and just go compete there.
What's sort of your mindset going into it? What do you think it's going to be like, just sort of embarking on this new journey?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be a little bit of a learning curve. You're taking your talents to the NFL. I mean, it's the top tier talent. So just having the right mindset going into it, and just every day is an interview, especially for me being a guy who's undrafted. So going in there and competing, giving it my all and doing my best, and we'll see how it goes. So,
well, last thing for you then, what do you think you've learned throughout this college journey? That included a couple stops, but especially the last couple of years at Montana, where you really blossomed into this great player. What did that teach you? How do you think that prepared you for this next step?
Yeah, I think transferring. A lot of guys transfer for a bunch of reasons, but my reason for transferring, was to get on the field more, as well as play a position that I felt was more suited to my talents. But I do think transferring definitely does help. It has, expanded my, mental ability to transition to things pretty quickly. Right after my season at UCLA was over, I pretty much was already at Montana. So that helped me. I think it'll help me in terms of just understanding and grasping a new playbook quickly. At Montana, it took me a little bit, but ultimately I got there, and I think that may help me when I go to Buffalo.
What are you most excited about this next chapter?
Yeah, I mean, I guess just getting the opportunity to play at the NFL, which has been a dream of mine my whole life. I'm sure that's the same for a lot of other guys getting the opportunity, but yeah, I'm just excited to take my game to the next level and get to the top tier talent, which is the NFL. I'm excited for that, and I'm just blessed to be in this position. I'm just excited. So,
Hayden Harris here on Nuanez Now. Good luck, man. We appreciate you taking some time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Join Town Pump's Pump It Up Rewards Plus program and never pay full price for fuel again.
Save 5 cents on every gallon every day at any Town Pump across Montana.
Plus, earn and redeem points on your favorite in-store items to get free stuff with our clubs.
Stop in and pick up a rewards card. Download the Pump It Up Rewards Plus app today.
Or visit townpump.com/rewards to register and start saving.